The first part of this video is going to show you how to write a proper conclusion. Now, last week, what I said we should have done is numbers 1, 2, 3, and 4. Number 4 should, of course, have two parts: where it happens in the story, and then why you picked that particular quote, or rather, why that quote proves your point. Then, towards the end of the hour on Friday, we did number 5. There are lots of different ways to introduce an essay. I probably know, 15 right off the top of my head, but because we're just trying to get good at this basic structure thing, I say use a wide sentence. And a wide sentence is you simply talk in general about one of the things that your thesis is about. So, like, my thesis talks about the Odyssey, talks about the hero cycle, and that's about it. So up here in my grabber, those are one of the things I got to mention. I got to mention either the Odyssey or the hero cycle. I can't start it off by talking about people who color their hair are shady and then work my way down into the Odyssey doesn't fit the typical hero cycle. I got to start off with that. Now, the focus, again, as I mentioned Friday, the focus is just whatever happens to go in between those two. You got to connect this. This has to be a paragraph. So, again, if I'm starting up here with something totally unrelated, then I have to have a lot of sentences to make it relatable. So, again, wide sentence. The Odyssey is one of the first books ever written. I then have to make the subject of the next few sentences smaller and smaller and smaller until I get to these particular aspects of this particular part of my particular book. It's pretty specific. It'd be like saying, the grabber is, candy is tasty. And then the thesis is, again, very specific. The best part of a green Skittle is the round part of that white S. Like, that's really specific. So if I'm going to do this, let's say on Skittles, I got to say, candy is tasty. And then have a few sentences in here saying, but the best candy doesn't have chocolate. The best candy is pure sugar. The best color for that pure sugar, green. The best type of candy in that category would be Skittles. But even on a Skittle, there's still a best part. Like, that all needs to be in the focus. So here I have, again, I have to end with 3 particular parts of a particular aspect of my particular book. So I start off by saying every book ever, and then my next sentence talks about older books. So I've kind of relegated that to not newer. And then they have a structure. So now I'm talking about the particular structure that I'm going to be talking about for the rest of this paper. I get into that particular aspect of those particular older books. And then I work my way into, again, my particular book. That's what's got to be done with the grabber and focus. Now, here's the main problem you guys tend to have. You want to put one sentence here, one sentence here, and one sentence here. That's a mistake. Grabbers, generally one sentence. Thesis should be one sentence. Focus should be several sentences. If you just put one sentence in there, I can almost guarantee it's going to be bad. Put a few. Work your way down. Now, like I said, this should be done anyway. What I want to focus now on is your conclusion. So, conclusion. Conclusions are really hard to teach, simply because it really does depend on your particular paper. The boxes here, those will work for 80% of your guys' essays. They won't work the best every single time, but in general, they usually work pretty well. So here's how it works. Modified focus. I essentially want to take my focus and change the wording a little bit. I'll take my thesis and change the wording a little bit. And you speak English, so this really shouldn't be too tough for you. But essentially, I'm going to take my introduction, the wide sentence, then the thinner and thinner and thinner sentences until I have my pinpoint thesis. Kind of going to flip that around here. Now let me kind of fast forward so we can get all this together here. Okay, here's what I got. In red, those are my word-for-word focus and thesis from my introduction. In black is my modified focus and thesis. You'll notice that they're pretty much saying the same thing, just a little different. The challenge, as you can see here, is it's really a new wide statement. And some of you guys, depending on what you have here for a wide statement, you might be able to reword that and have that be your challenge. That works sometimes. The whole idea with the challenge is you want to end your paper on something that's not specifically about your pinpoint. So and this is one of those things where I can't really tell you how to do it. If you just practice a couple, you'll see how very simple it is, but you got to practice a couple. So with my challenge here, I'm not really talking about my book anymore, right? It's not super specific to my pinpoint. If you're doing, I don't know, the one about how the gods interfere, the challenge at the end might be, I don't know, even today we all pray to our own God when we're in trouble. Or if you're doing the one about working together versus working individually, your challenge might be, although we all want to work by ourselves and be the hero of our own story, often it's easier and better to work together. Because neither one of those am I talking still about the Odyssey. I'm just talking about us. I'm talking about people in general. For mine, I'm just talking about books in general. But you see what I'm saying, though? It's another wide statement. Obviously, it has to flow. I mean, you can't go Odyssey, salmon swim upstream. Like it's all got to go together. But like I said, the challenge, that takes a couple tries. So there you go. Please do that.